That uncommitted vote on the Democratic side, it's clear a large portion of Minnesota Democrats wanted to send a message to the president.
They were letting him know that they don't approve of his handling of the war in Gaza.
And Northern News Now's Cara Kopp is analyzing those results for us tonight. Cara?
Yeah, Dan, Laura, I got the chance to speak with one Duluth voter today who checked uncommitted on his ballot. He says he hopes the president takes notice. Brandon Parker is a UMD student who voted as a DFLer in today's primaries. He is among those calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. By not voting for Biden in the primaries, Parker says he is not trying to push the president out of office. Rather, he tells me he's calling on Biden to listen to those who are most likely to support him come November.
Primary elections are how we really chart the future of our party, and voting uncommitted tells Biden that he does not necessarily have our support in writing blank checks to Israel.
We saw the same movement pick up steam last week in Michigan, where 100,000 people voted uncommitted. Earlier this week, several DFL state and city leaders announced they'd also vote uncommitted. That includes Duluth Senator Jen McEwen and Duluth City Councilor Azrin Awal.